Got some good news and got some bad news. The good news, I am the bad news. And this video will be installing a Mechman 240 amp high output alternator in the DaSlapBox, which is my 2011 Scion XB car audio build. It's not a race car, it's a base car. The alternator supplies power to everything in the car when the motor is running, including charging the battery so that you can start it up. The reason you need a high output alternator is because amplifiers and accessories and all the other kind of stuff require a lot more power than the stock battery and alternator can supply. One common way that you can tell that your battery and alternator aren't supplying what you need is when your bass hits and you see the headlights dim. That's because there was actually pulling power away from the headlights basically, which means you need a beefier battery, beefier alternator, and also beefier wires in between them, which is called the big 3 or the big 4. Yep, there's my big 4. Well, plus that one down there that you can barely see. Normally people do the big 3, the ground to the alternator. That's the extra one. Today, I'm only doing the alternator, but if you want to see me install the battery, well, you gotta wait, because I don't have one. Coming soon. Probably. My stock alternator is rated at 100 amps. My new Mechman alternator is rated at 240 amps. So I'll be giving myself double plus the electrical capacity, if that's the right way to reference it. But for simplicity, boom. Pulling the alternator is pretty easy. There's only 2 bolts in my car, at least, that connect it. There's one up top, one down bottom. Had to borrow a breaker bar from my stepdad. And you also have to loosen the serpentine belt, which can be a little bit of a bitch because you have to stick the 19mm socket under the belt, how my finger is. You pretty much just gotta poke the 19mm under there until you feel it and lock on. And then you can loosen up the serpentine belt, take the belt off, and then you can actually remove the alternator at that point. Mechman also advised that you change the serpentine belt, and you probably should, but I didn't, and I didn't have any problems. I haven't had any belt slippage, although I can hear a little bit of squeaking when like the AC's on. I'm slapping the bass and I'm at a stoplight. I can hear it just for a little, little chirps, but like for the most part, I don't really get any belt squeaking. Once the alternator is removed, you don't have to do this obviously, but I gave the area a nice little cleanup because I think anytime you get access to an area that you're not gonna have regular access to, clean it. By the time you're changing your alternator, it's pretty much essential that you have already done your big 3 or your big 4. I kinda did mine the same weekend because my stock alternator actually died on me. I didn't even include the test drive in this video because it's in that one, and that one's already posted. So if you wanna see the test drive, it's super important that your ring terminals fit whatever lugs you're putting them on perfectly. I was about to rush to install it until I realized that the ring terminals I had wouldn't fit the lugs perfectly. There was like a little gap. So this is the one it came with, and you'll see it fits very snugly on the bolt. This is the one I have, and you'll see there's a pretty good gap, so I won't be able to use these on the ones that are this size, which it just so happens the stock bolts for the alternator, which are going to be my negative ground, are that same size. So on here, they just don't work. It's much too much of a gap, so I'm going to have to get something smaller. These ones do work for a couple of the grounds that are in the car, so I will be able to use them for that. But I'm going to have to get new ones for the other ones. Mechman made it pretty clear that that's a potential fire hazard, and that's it's something I'm not a big fan of. So I chose to wait until I ordered the correct ring terminals with the correct holes for the correct size lugs. Installing the alternator was super easy. Nice. It's only 2 bolts, one of which is going to be holding your new ground wire, and you put the belt back around it, and you just connect the power regulator and your 2 positive wires, which are your stock power and your new bigger one for your big 4. Here's like a preview what it might look like in the future. You may have to give your alternator a little bit of persuasion. Oh wow. Seems like it didn't break. Sad thing is I saw that coming and still did it anyway. There's a captive nut where the alternator sandwiches the engine, and on mine it just happened to stick out just a little bit too far, so I had to come up with a creative solution. A 1/2-inch socket and this random bolt, and just kind of hit it with the old hammer, and now you can see it's flush in there. So now it should be able to bolt up. Once all your connections are made, you can reconnect the battery and start it up, check the voltage, and mainly check for any fires and that type of thing, because you definitely don't want any of that. After I started it up, I gave it a test drive back to the same gas station that it died at, and this time it performed exactly as it should have. Started up fine with the AC on and all that, and it performed perfect. Pretty sure if it would have been bad, I would have known by now, and it did just fine.
Started up just fine.
I'm gonna wrap this one up here. If you really wanna see the test drive, you can check out the Big 4 video. There should be a little card popping up there or something like that. If you like the DaSlapBox videos like this one, let me know in the comments what you liked or what you'd like to see in the next one. And go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. Check me out on Instagram at DaBadNewz, DaBadNewz. The same way spelled, somewhere right around this area. Watch another video of mine, and always hear the bad news first. Skirt! Noiko, 80 mil. Sound deadening, the door panels.
Take out the 2 screws.
And here's the finished product, quite a bit heavier. So these are the fasteners, and around them you can see the fabric tape. Let's compare that to the back door.